All right, seasonal pillows. You can use the pillows on your sofa and just put a cover on them. You can make pillows. I prefer to have a pillow that isn't permanent, because if I take this beautiful soft touch pillow and I make a cover that I can take off, I can change it seasonally. So we're gonna look at some winter ones right now, but you are only limited by your imagination. So think about your winter decor. Are you kind of country? Do you like things that are, very classic? We can add all kinds of trim to them. These are pretty big, but they would be cute on the corners. Are you a little bit more elegant? Do you want, this is just lining fabric. Do you want something a little bit more shiny and a little bit more elegant? Or are you looking for something super cozy? So here we have a leftover piece of fur, a leftover piece of zebra. So I'm going to make a couple for one of my guest bedrooms. I'm going to use some trim. I mean, you can use any kind of trim you have lying around. I happen to have this. I have this silver, which would be really pretty to stick into the edge. So you're limited only by your imagination and what you have lying around your house. So let's start with the pillow. So this is a 14 by 14 inch pillow. And you can tell, if you don't know, like say you're using your couch cushion pillow and you're gonna recover it, you wanna measure it from seam to seam in both directions. So I'm gonna grab this here. So this is, it's really not quite 14. I guess if I stretch it, it's 14. And then same thing on this one. We wanna make sure they're square because they're not always square, right? So 14 by 14. So here's the math. We want the cushion to fit really tightly. So we want it to be a little bit smaller than 14 by 14. So I'm gonna make this finished 13.5 by 13.5. Having said that, I need seam allowances, right, on the edges. So I'm going to add a 1/2 inch for each seam allowance. So now my 13.5 finished pillow cover is going to be, I'm going to cut it 14.5 inches. So I'm going to have a 1/2 inch seam here on each side and a 1/2 inch seam here on each side. And that will get me a 13.5 inch pillow cover, which will really be snug on my pillow. And I'm going to put a zipper in this one. You can use snap kits, so like they use at the bottom of babies' little jumpers. You can use buttons. There's all kinds of different things that you can use to close it. Velcro is an option. It can be a little messy, but certainly it's worth a try if you'd like to try it. So we're gonna cut this out for this 14 inch pillow, and I'm going to see, so I have this scrap of zebra, and I think, look at that, it's gonna be just wide enough. Now, you can cut 2 pieces of the same fabric, right? Or you can cut, say, make 2 pillows, both with a top of the zebra and a bottom with the brown. Again, you are limited only to your own imagination. And I also have a 16 inch pillow here. This is wide enough, just barely, for my 16 inch pillow. So I'm going to make a 16 and a 14 inch pillow cover with the giraffe on one side and the solid brown on the other. I think I said, did I say zebra before? This is giraffe. I know the difference between a giraffe and a zebra. All right, so I'm gonna cut a 14.5 inch square out of the giraffe and a 14.5 inch square out of the brown for this pillow. And then I'm going to cut, because this is 16 inches and I want it to finish at 15.5, I'm going to cut 16.5 inch squares for this one, and we're gonna put them together. Super simple. All right, this is my 16 inch pillow. I'm gonna put a 14 inch zipper. I just happen to have this zipper lying around. It's a regular traditional zipper. For these kind of things, I just use whatever I have. So it's a pretty simple process. I'm going to sew the zipper on one end. This fur is really ravelly. All right, so the goal is to sew this zipper in here. I'm gonna kind of balance it between the two ends because I'll go back and sew this back together. But the first thing I wanna do is sew the right side of the zipper to the right side of the fabric. So I'm gonna go ahead and stitch this down pretty close to the teeth. It doesn't have to be perfect, but I wanna get it as close as possible. And I'm gonna stitch it down to where I can't stitch it. I'll just stop when I can't stitch it anymore. And I don't need to go by the zipper pull. It's a pillow, it's gonna be on the bottom. It's gonna be towards the couch or the bed, so it doesn't matter. So I'm gonna go ahead and stitch this piece on. All right, here's the first side of my zipper. Before I sew the other one, I wanna make sure that I can zip it up. That's really important. And you know, it doesn't have to be perfect like a garment, but one of the things that I do like to do is lay it out in front of me, just like I do my garments. And I wanna sew this zipper tape to the right side of this piece of the cushion or the pillow cover. So I'm going to line them up. I'm gonna line up the ends of my pillow because that's important that these ends end up matching up. Just to keep them in place. Is a little slippery. And I also want to start my zipper in the right spot. This one's a little close. Back up, there we go. So I'm going to sew my zipper onto the brown. And once I have lined this up, and I'm happy with where it lines up. So the teeth line up together here on this end. I'm gonna unzip this all the way because it'll just make it easier to sew. So I'm gonna sew the zipper onto this side. I'm just gonna check, make sure my zipper works. Look at that, really, it's that simple. I know it looks simple, seems simple, it really is that simple. Now, I'm just going to go back and sew around the other three sides of my pillow. But before I do that, you wanna make sure that the zipper is open, because if the zipper isn't open, you can't turn the pillow inside right. So that becomes a problem. And I wanna get nice corners on this. So I'm going to sew off. I'm going to sew and sew off. I'm not going to pivot at the corners, because when you pivot, you aren't guaranteed a really nice corner. And remember, our seam allowance is 1/2 inch. Okay, I have all three sides besides my zipper side pinned, and I want to stitch up where the zipper is because I've left, you know, this length here where the zipper isn't. So I'm going to just pin this and stitch that also on each end. So you can see I sewed my zipper to there. I'm gonna finish this seam, and I'm gonna do the same thing up here. My zipper ends here at the teeth, where the teeth end. So I wanna sew this section of this seam so my zipper is encased with little seam allowances on either side. All right, I sewed my pillow all the way around. I put a seam here underneath where the edge of my zipper is. I put another seam on this side where the top of my zipper is. I'm gonna turn it around. I mean, these are so easy and so inexpensive compared to how much these pillows cost if you go to a big box store and buy them. All right, before I stuff my pillow in there, I'm just gonna make sure the zipper works. But you can see why you wanna leave this open while you're sewing the other sides, because if you don't, it's challenging. All right, oh, I left a pin in there. That is not good. Okay. There we go. So look, I have this really nice little pillowcase. So my pillow, I can store these, right? They're so much easier to store than storing great big huge pillows. And it's much more economical because I can do these pillows for every season, or when I get sick of something and I just want to change. So now I'm looking at cozy winter fabrics, And again, these are fabrics that I just have lying around, but even if you went to Joann's and picked up a couple of yards of fur or silk or whatever for a bunch of pillows, it wouldn't cost you that much, along with the pillow forms. So because it's smaller than the pillow, right, you have to kind of give it some coercion to get it inside there. And these zippers aren't anything fancy, but it's not a cushion. If it was a cushion going on a couch or something, then that would be a little different. But it's just a pillow, a decorative pillow, and that's going to be on the bottom. You won't even see that zipper. And look at that. There's my pillow. Here's my second one. So cute. I'm ready to make up a bunch more. All right, I wanted to show you this quick little white one because the edges on this are a little better to see than they were on that big furry one. I added some trim to the inside, and I have a little photo up here. You add it on ahead of time. And then you can see this zipper is much shorter. So after I inserted the zipper, when I did the seams all the way around, like I sewed this end of the zipper closed, and then again up here at the top, this end closed on that section that had the zipper. All right, now we just turn it inside right, and we're gonna push out the corners. Because I put the trim on first, it's going to stand out. This trim is standing out around the edge of the pillow, so you can see. All right. There's all kinds of things you can do with these pillows, and you just go to one of the stores or look online and get some inspiration, and you could make some gorgeous little pillowcases for a fraction of the money, and they really don't require a ton of skill. All right, so there's my little white one. It's a 12-inch. There's my little 12-inch one with the little fringe around the outside. It's very delicate, but it's sweet, and it adds just a little bit of detail to the pillow.